Okay, welcome to Chapter 9. This chapter talks all about comparing fractions, and so we're going to look at ways to make greater than, less than, and figure out which ones are bigger, smaller, or being able to compare them in problem-solving skills. First thing we're going to do is check for your understanding. So I want you to go ahead and look at number 1. We are on page 349 in your Go Math book. Looking at halves and fourths. Number 1 says, find the shape that is divided into 2 equal parts. Color 1/2. So the first thing you need to do is look at your 2 shapes. Decide, first of all, are they cut into equal pieces? Is this side going to be the same as this side? Is this side going to be the same as this side? And just by looking, you know automatically that this one right here is not equal on both sides. So we know that it can't be a fraction of 1/2 because it's not divided in equal pieces. Remember, to be a fraction, you have to have equal pieces. So looking at the shape of the other one, it wants you to color 1/2. So you're going to count how many pieces you have. You have 2. And it wants you to color 1 out of the 2. So you should color in 1 out of the 2. Number 2, I want you to do the same thing. Find the shape that is divided into 4 equal parts. Color 1/2. So again, analyze, are the pieces equal, first of all, to decide if it can even be a fraction. Then number the pieces and color 1/4. Do number 2, please. Number 3 and 4 are parts of a whole. These are review from last chapter. Write the number of shaded parts and the number of equal parts. So looking at number 1, looks like we have 3 pieces in there. And how many pieces are shaded is 1, 2. How many equal parts are there? We just numbered 3, which makes you a fraction of 2/3. Notice that all of those are cut into equal sizes to make it a true fraction. Number 4 is the same thing. It wants you to number the shaded parts and write it over the equal parts. Do number 4, please. Fractions of a whole. Write the fraction that names the shaded part of each shape. So I'm going to begin by counting how many total pieces I have, and the total pieces is my denominator. And then I'm going to look at the shaded part. There's only 1 shaded part in number 5, so my fraction is 1 out of 4, which is read 1/4. Would you please do number 6 and 7? Pretty easy review page. I'm going to go back up to number 2. Find the shape that is divided into 4 equal parts and color 1/2. You should have had one of these colored. It doesn't have to be this specific square rectangle, but it does need to be one in that shape because these are not equal sizes. It cannot be a fraction. For number 4, we had shaded parts 1, 2, 3, 4, and your equal parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So your fraction is 4/6. Number 6, write the fraction that names the shaded part. So my denominator is going to be 3, and we have 2 out of the 3 that are shaded. And for number 7, we have 1 that is shaded out of 6 pieces. So your fraction should have been 1/6. Okay. On the bottom of that page, it says Hannah keeps her marbles in bags with 4 marbles in each bag. She writes 3/4 to show the number of red marbles in each bag. Be a math detective to find another fraction to name the number of red marbles in 2 bags. So you're going to look and try to figure out how she would label that. You can do this one at the end of the lesson. Looking at vocabulary, we have some review words that look like review words from chapters well before we started working with fractions, and math words that you use throughout your mathematician skills. Your first review word is compare, looking at the difference between 2 numbers or fractions. The denominator is the bottom number. Eighths, you're going to write as 1/8. Equal parts, you know that those mean that they are the same. Equal to, and in parentheses it has an equal sign, so like in an equation. fourths, writing 1 over 4. A fraction, you should know, it's part of a number. Greater than, halves, less than, numerator is the top number of a fraction. Order is a sequence. Sixths, thirds, unit fractions you used last time, and whole numbers. Your preview words are equivalent and fractions. So we're going to use those words and complete the flow map by using the words with the check mark. So we only need to use the 5 words that have the check marks in front of them. Okay, so let's look at our flow chart. Fractions and whole numbers. The first column is what is it, and the second column are some examples. So let's look at this one right here. 2/3 greater than 1/3. If you just read the fraction and look at the symbol, it already gives you the answer. The second one in our flowchart, 1/4 is less than 2/4. So again, just reading it gives us the answer. And you notice that these symbols in here are also what are over here. 1/2 is equal to 2/4. So we must need to use the word equivalent. One-third, 1/4. Well, we know that those aren't whole numbers, so we're going to go with unit fractions. That's from last chapter. And our last one, 2 over 2 and 4 over 2. So if we look at this first one, any number over itself is equal to 1. If you look at this one, it's actually called an improper fraction, and an improper fraction is a fraction where the numerator is bigger than the denominator. And usually when it's an improper fraction, then you can make it a mixed number. So we're going to look at what would you do, how many 2's to make a 4. So 4 over 2 is actually 2. Okay, so it becomes the whole number of 2. It takes 2 2's to get to that 4. So now we have these numbers, which we know are whole numbers. So comparing fractions. Okay. On the bottom, write the review word or preview word that answers the riddle. Number 1, we are 2 fractions that name the same amount. So if they're the same, they are equal. So which one of our words, we're going to use equivalent again. And we're going to spell it right. We are equivalent fractions when we name the same amount. Okay, I am the part of a fraction above the line. I tell how many parts are being counted. So what is this part of a fraction called? You should already know as the numerator. That's how many parts are being counted. And the third one, I'm the part of the fraction below the line. I tell how many equal parts in the whole or in the group. So how many total pieces there are, we know that that is called the denominator. Okay, that was pretty easy to figure out. So we're going to move into lesson 9.1 now. And lesson 9.1 is problem solving and comparing fractions. We're looking at the Common Core standard of develop understanding of fractions as numbers. And our lesson objective is to solve comparison problems by using the strategy of act it out. We started using this strategy during our multiplication unit. So act it out is just drawing pictures. And our essential question is, how can you use the strategy act it out to solve comparison problems? Okay. Get our brains warmed up for this lesson. We're going to do our problem of the day. Laurel and her class are collecting bottles and cans to recycle. She collected 129 bottles and 92 cans. about how many items did Laurel collect in all? So the word about tells us that we're not going to have to give an exact answer. And actually on the transparency, it has a couple of options. You could say about 50 was one of the options. About 100 was another option. About 150 was our third option. And about 200 was your final option. So let's just think about this. I don't want you to answer it yet. I know some of you are already jumping ahead and not listening anymore, but I want you to think about this. And if it says in all, we know that we're going to add these pieces together. So automatically look at your answers, and you have 129 bottles and 92 bottles. So you know that it can't be 50 because those two numbers are already bigger than 50. You know that it can't be about 100 because it's already 129 and 92. I'm going to round now to figure the next part out. I'm going to take 129 and I'm going to round it to 100. And I'm going to take 92 and I'm going to round it to 100. And then I'm going to add those together to give me 200. So I really only had to solve it to figure out the two different ones, and I didn't need an exact answer. And if you looked at it, you didn't even really need to solve it because you knew in your head that 100 and 100 is going to be more than 150. So start thinking about those things as we get ready for some more state testing and other school testing, that you need to look at the problems and eliminate the answers that don't make sense. Okay? All right, jumping into our lesson, comparing fractions. Unlock the problem. Mary and Vincent climbed up a rock wall at the park. Mary climbed 3/4 of the way up the wall. Vincent climbed 3/8 of the way up the wall. Who climbed higher? You can act out the problem by using manipulatives to help you compare fractions. So if you want to go ahead and get out those fraction bars, you can do that. What we need to find is who climbed higher. Okay. What information do I need to use? Mary climbed 3/4 of the way up. So you can see they use their fraction bars there. And Vincent climbed 3/8 of the way up. And there's those fraction bars. So how will I use the information? I will use the fraction strips that we had, that they did on the page, and that you have in your bags. And you're going to compare the lengths of the models to see who climbed higher. Okay, so now you're going to look at the fractions. We have Mary was 3/4 and Vincent was 3/8. Just because the denominator is bigger doesn't mean that that is going to be bigger. So you're going to look at your fraction strips here. We have the 3/8 is here, and we have the 3/4 is here. And we know by looking at it that the 3/4 is bigger. The length of the 3/4 is greater than the length of the 3/8. So Mary climbed higher. Using those fraction bars makes it so easy to solve these problems. Let's go ahead and turn to page 352. And another food problem to make you hungry. The camp leader is making waffles for breakfast. Tracy ate 3/6 of her waffle. Kim ate 5/6 of her waffle. Who ate more waffle? So what do I need to find is who ate more. I love these little diagrams that they give you because it really helps you break those apart. What information do you need to use is that Tracy ate 3/6 and Kim ate 5/6. Okay? How will I use the information? You can use your fraction strips again, or fraction circles. I think with waffles I'm going to draw circles. And we do have fraction circles that you can use if you want to lay it out also to help you with your drawing. So next you're going to do is try to find out how much each of those were. So if I have Tracy's waffle, I'm just going to mark it with a T. I know that I need 6 total pieces. Okay? And out of those 6 pieces, I know that she ate 3. Okay? Now I need Kim's waffle. So I'm going to draw Kim and label it with a K, again in 6 pieces. And try to make them as equal as possible so they look like real fractions. And she ate 5/6 of hers. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so using that information, you can compare who ate more. Okay, so this one is 3/6, and this one was 5/6. So using greater than, less than, or equal to, you'll know that 5 is bigger than 3 in your numerator. This one definitely had more pieces gone than this one. So 3/6 is less than 5/6. Okay? So how did the model help you solve your problem? Your possible answer could be something like, I can compare the size of the models to see that 5/6 is bigger than 3/6. Okay, you know that by drawing them out, that there were more pieces that Kim had than Tracy had. Something like that. Go ahead and fill in number 1 in your own words. Okay, number 2. Tracy and Kim each had a carton of milk with lunch. Tracy drank 5/8 of her milk, and Kim drank 7/8 of her milk. Who drank more milk? Okay, so we need to draw a little milk carton, and we're just going to do that by using a rectangle. Okay, and this one's going to be Tracy, and this is going to be Kim. And my denominator tells me I need 8 pieces. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ooh, that is not an equivalent fraction, is it? Not going to be a good drawing. Let me throw that away. To break this into 8 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'm going to take the bottom of this off. And there's Tracy. Okay. Then you can kind of just eyeball this one with the same. The lines go across. Or to make it even easier, let's just do this. Let's just draw right next to it. Let me just extend these lines. Okay. Okay. So we know that Tracy ate 5, or drank 5 out of the 8. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Kim drank 7/8. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So who drank more milk? 5/8 to 7/8. It looks like Kim's is more. So 5/8 is less than 7/8. And yes, of course I want you to draw that, and I want to see that on there. So your explanation, since it says explain, it doesn't want just the answer, it wants you to explain it, is something like a model with 7/8 is bigger than the model with 5/8, so that you can see how they are compared, that your 5/8 is less than 7/8. Okay? Your next page, we're on 353, share and show. At the park, people can climb a rope ladder to its top. Rosa climbed 2/8 of the way up the ladder. Justin climbed 2/6 of the way up. Who climbed higher on the rope ladder? First, what are you asked to find? Your question is asking you who climbed higher. Now you'll notice, and I actually had to look back because my screen is a little bit blurry, that our denominators are not the same today. So we're going to have to really think about this one. Then you're going to model and compare your fractions. So you're going to compare 2/8 and 2/6. Okay, so you're going to compare those by doing a figure. Okay, so Rosa climbed 2/8. So I'm going to draw my ladder. I'm going to make it into 8 pieces. I should have saved it from the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, and she climbed up 2 of those. Okay, this is Rosa. And then I have Justin, who we're going to break into 6 pieces. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and he climbed 2 of the 6th. So which one is bigger? This one is 2/8, and this one is 2/6. You can see that Justin's is bigger, so 2/6 is actually bigger than 2/8, so Justin climbed higher. This is one of those times that I really like to point out that you need to make sure that you're showing all your work and drawing those out. A lot of the previous lessons have just been skipped through the drawing part, and I kept saying, you're going to need to draw them, you're going to need to draw them, show me your work, show me your work. And this is why, because look how easy that was to compare these 2 fractions with a drawing. Okay? Number 2, what if Carla also tried the rope ladder and climbed 2/4 of the way up? Who climbed the highest on the rope ladder? So we're going to add Carla here, and it's going to be really easy because we showed our work. And she's going to have 2/4, so we need to cut this into 4ths. She climbed 2 out of the 4ths. Okay, so you can see that Carla climbed the highest, and it wants you to explain why. And you'll have something to say like, Justin climbed higher than Rosa since 2/6 is bigger than 2/8. And then you drew Carla next to Justin, which is 2/4, and it was more than that Justin had climbed. Okay, so put those into your own words. And number 3, Ted walked 2/3 mile to his soccer game. Then he walked 1/3 mile to his friend's house. Which distance is shorter? Explain how you know. So again, I would just draw 2 pieces, and I would label them 2/3 and 1/3. You know that you have to split them both into thirds, and then you're going to color in and see which one is, and then you're going to explain how that worked for you. Go ahead and do number 3. And you're going to go ahead and do page 354 on your own, 4 through 8. Using the table to solve your problems. Use that show your workspace. And when you are done, you're going to be back at your essential question and your math journal. This is your last fraction chapter, I believe. So when you're done with this chapter, I will be collecting your math journals and scoring those, so make sure that you're answering them. Make sure you have your essential question written. How can you use the strategy acted out to solve comparison problems? And then your math journal prompt, writing that in there also. Explain how you can find whether 5/6 or 5/8 is greater. So it wants you to explain it. You can draw your pictures, which I hope you do, and then explain how you compare those two to compare fractions, meeting that Common Core standard. Okay? If I went too fast, or you do not understand something, or you refused to draw out your pictures and then got confused when we had different denominators, please go back and watch the video again. And we will have a conference and make sure that you understood everything. If you are completely done with this assignment, check the board to see what else you need to do. There's also a game called Who's the Greatest? Activity card 11, by using fraction tiles to compare and order fractions. You also have the literature of the whole picture that you can do, and a game called Fraction Action, where you'll practice comparing fractions if you want to do any of those 3 items that is on the board.